Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice. But here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Bobby Davis, Paul Bratzlavsky, and Sarah Kimmel.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast, the podcast where we discuss all things tech from AI to VR, robots to flying cars. This week I'm joined by Sarah Kimmel, Bobby Davis, and Paul Bratzlavsky, and I'm Kevin Doyle. And coming up in this week's episode, Meta launched its Twitter competitor, Threads. Sarah Silverman and a few other authors that most of us probably don't know are suing OpenAI and Meta for copyright infringement. The border-based AI machine gun. And did you know that a thumbs up emoji could now be considered legally binding? And then we'll finish up with our null, not null section where we either recommend or recommend that you avoid a product or service. Let's jump into our first story. And this is probably going to dominate our chat this week because at the end of last week, while we were recording episode 21 last Wednesday, the new Twitter competitor dropped, Threads. So this is Meta's answer to Twitter. This is, just when we thought we had enough potential Twitter replacements with Blue Sky, Mastodon, T2, Post, however many others have come up that I haven't even joined. Meta decided to jump into the game with their offering to try and kill Twitter called Threads. So it was released a week ago, July 5th. We're recording this on July 12th. So it's been exactly a week. So this is built by the team that built Instagram, uses your Instagram account, which was great. They had an instant user base, which we'll talk about here in a second. Instagram has actually 2.35 billion monthly active users. I didn't realize it was as big as this. I didn't realize it was 5 times bigger than the active users on Twitter. Twitter has 450 million active users, although in the last couple of days, Elon will tell you that it's more about the minutes per screen time or some weird stat that he's spouting off about to try and compete with this app. So I know at least 2 of you are on this app, but I haven't seen Paul on this app.
I'm on there. It's just
Are you?
Because the issue with it is that it basically told me I had to use my Instagram name, which is terrible. And so nobody knows who I am because I'm on Instagram as Hot Turtle. Don't ask why. And so that's my Threads. That's my Threads name, Hot Turtle.
Okay.
Is there a story how that name?
Are we allowed to ask why? Is it PG?
It's. Jesus Christ, Kevin. I mean, damn.
Dude, I don't know. Sometimes I ask you these things and I don't know which way we're going to go.
So the story is pretty funny. So, I mean, my fiance, we separated already, but we met in Connecticut and we kept looking at each other and she thought it was kind of cute. That's where kind of like that hot part came from. But the turtle part came from...
like a turtle?
the turtle part came from is that she kept waiting for me to ask her out. And I never did. And she finally was leaving Connecticut. And she comes up to me. She's like, I thought we were going to have like a thing going, like, because like, and I'm like, and she's like, you never asked me out. I was like, oh, geez. I thought,
oh, wow.
And so it's probably been like, instead of hot turtle, been like dumb boyfriend or something. But like, it's like, it was just like, I'm very bad at social cues. And so she ended up asking me out to make that story even funnier. So I was like, oh man, we better move fast. I got to go on the date with her. We go on the date and we go have like great breakfast, blah, blah, blah. We go hang out. We go for a park. I go to drop her off. First date, right? And she's looking at me in the car. I'm looking at her in the car. And I literally like go to kind of like reach in forward and I see her eyes closed and I'm not understanding because I was getting the door for her. And I open the door and she's like literally goes like strike 2. And then I'm like, oh wait, I got it. And so I close the door and I go, let's try this again. And then we had our first kiss. And so she was just like literally, and that's kind of like, where my slowness comes from.
So I take it you've never seen the movie Hitch, right? You've never seen the movie Hitch?
No.
90-10?
Yeah.
Right? You can start a new Instagram account, right? You could start coding 30.
Just for really Threads,
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I started as a new one for Not Null because you gotta. So this is part of the thing, right? You have to. This is part of the feature set, if you want to call it that. It's based on an Instagram account, but you also have to have an Instagram account. So good or bad, you have to start an Instagram account first, and that then ports over to a Threads account. I set us up one for Not Null. There's nothing on there other than our branding, and then I set us up they copied over so that we had the Not Null podcast on Threads. That's where we live on Threads. It's our brand.
To be honest, I do have an Instagram, Paul Brasowski. I just never used it ever. So I could. I just found that by accident the other day because I was just like, you search yourself on Instagram and you're like, oh, apparently I have an account.
Well, I just followed you, so now you're up to 12 followers. So
nice.
There you go.
I found Hot Turtle on Threads and followed you.
I like it. So with this being released, Musk took it really well. I think he just kind of like rolled with it, right? He's like, oh yeah, this is cool, great, a competitor. Yeah, no.
Exactly how that worked out.
Yeah. No, he got really childish and said a lot of childish things in tweets that you can go read. Just go on, if you have a Twitter account, go read his replies on Twitter account. You'll see how childish he is over this stuff.
Yeah, he's a 12-year-old boy.
He is a 12-year-old boy in a billionaire's body. 100%, Sarah. You nailed it. That is exactly what he is. But what he also did was threaten Meta with a lawsuit. Like literally the very next day, July 6th, he put out although they sent Meta a letter from his attorney, which apparently is his personal attorney. It's this letter right here. The biggest thing in here being what they talked about was they claimed intellectual property rights and basically said that that they hired a bunch of ex-Twitter employees and they used Twitter documents and Twitter electronic devices to make their copycat, and that's what they called it, copycat Threads app. Using this information, Meta did since respond and say nobody that worked on Threads was an ex-Twitter employee, so they're already kind of countering it. But the letter talked about that, and they also talked about, one section around retaining documents, basically saying like, hey, don't get rid of anything because we're kind of going to sue you. So whether they do or not, I don't know. What do you guys think about the suit?
I'll take this
valid,
first.
Not valid?
I don't think it's valid. I know a little bit about this, as Kevin knows. So like, defending like software as a work is really hard. Proving that you copied a piece of software is really difficult, even when you put them in a non-compete. So let's say you release an employee or you sell a company or something like that, and you wrote a piece of software and they try to push you into a box and say you can't write anything like this. Trying to define that in a non-compete is in the US is kind of unenforceable to begin with, but you have to prove like absolute copy. Second, the other thing that Facebook is going to have is like, listen, man, it's not like we haven't made Instagram and Facebook and Reels. We kind of know what we're doing, and there's probably more of our technologists than in your Twitter clone. We have more users on Instagram than you can even think about. So I don't think you can win. Even if they hired, which they did hire, they have hired Twitter people. Even if they use Twitter people to build this, I still don't think they have a case because they'd have to enforce the non-compete with the employee. And the employee would have to like violate that non-compete for them to be able to use it. You can use other people's ideas and experience and things to build software. They'd have to show a lot of things. It doesn't even have a hashtag yet.
Right. We'll talk about the features definitely.
Right.
And what's missing.
So like I don't think it goes anywhere. I think Elon, the best thing he could do is compete harder. Like he should have responded differently than this and saying like suddenly verified as free or something. I don't know what he can do, but like he needs to compete with Facebook at this point because he allowed them. He created the circumstance in which people would move over to Threads. And I think that's the main thing I see what Elon did was like the whole rate limiting debacle that we talked about last week just forced people's hands.
Yep.
And I guess he thought that no one could clone it. And apparently what I've always said this is that it would be easy to clone this thing. And people have like said, well, you don't know how to build scale apps at this scale. And I'm like, well, I can imagine it.
Meta
but
does.
Apparently Facebook built this with 20 people in 6 to 9 months. And this just tells you that there's nothing in here that I can see that's like something you could copyright. Threaded discussions. I mean, Reddit's been around. Yep. Bulletin boards have been around. What is novel, really truly novel about Twitter that Facebook hasn't been able to copy or use or already have? I don't see anything about it.
The only problem they had to solve here, I think, from a technology standpoint, is scalability. You guys know as developers, you could develop a local version of this very easily. This is not rocket science, computer science like high-end stuff. This is a threaded chat. This has like been done a million times. You can make a local version of this easily. The biggest technical problem is scalability, and guess who's really good at scalability? Meta is. They had that thing in the bag already. They had the user base, they have the infrastructure, they have the money. It was the only problem to solve, and they don't really have to solve it.
Right. They did. And they did solve it. Whatever they did, it's better than Twitter's as far as like scalability and everything. So like, I don't think I have anything to let stand on. I don't think this lawsuit ever gets filed. I don't think what this does is make them reserve any kind of records and that type of things. What Elon could do is file an injunction against the individual employees. They could go after the employees directly and say, you're not allowed to work at Facebook. You violate this, and sue the employees. And maybe that brings Facebook into a lawsuit where they defend their employee. But
yeah, I think clearly they'll fight back because they already have by saying, well, they didn't work on this. So
exactly.
I mean, and think about from the employees' perspective too. Like, think how they were treated. Like, I don't even know if they have non-competes, right? Because they certainly weren't given one on the way out the door.
Well, they have one they signed coming
but
in the door. I'm sure they have a non-compete of some sort. The question about non-competes, are they enforceable? So there has to be an area that you can work in. So you can't write a non-compete and says you can't work in software in the United States. It has to be in a certain area. Yeah. And then it has to like be reasonably restrictive based on what you do. But you can't say you can't work in social media. Like, that's too broad. There's too many companies out there. And so they would have to, that non-compete has to be really good. And I doubt that any judge, especially if they're in Texas or they're in California and one of these big, where all these social media companies operate, they're not going to make new law. They're just going to say, you should have restricted them on the way out the door,
Speaking of that, so from an IT background, the part that really stuck out to me was the quote, like, and had and continue to have access and kept devices. I'm like, that's an IT problem. That's an internal IT problem.
But you can imagine that's how it went down.
Any of that.
But you can imagine that's how it went down. He literally said, "Don't come in tomorrow," and he didn't. I guarantee you, what he means is they have phones, they have laptops, they have all kinds of company infrastructure. That, and I guarantee he's just like, I don't care.
Right. Until it's like, hey, this is the reason why I can sue. So now I care.
The other thing too, if there truly was something that Twitter had, these 20 employees went to Facebook or whoever it was, or 100 or whatever it was, and they said, we have an idea. We think we can make a clone. And there was something in there. Facebook has been down this road. It's not like they haven't copied stuff before. So like, they put those guys in another building. They said, okay, you have to communicate through smoke signals or flashlights or something. But you can't work on this project directly. And then they just have to defend it in court. And I don't think they have a leg to stand on. The second thing is Facebook has enough money to bury Twitter forever. Like, they can just keep him in court forever.
Sure.
I don't think he's already losing money. Can't pay the Google bill. It's like, they just have to win them. They have to win them.
Can't pay his office bill.
Yeah.
So it's a mess for him.
It is. So the other thing that one of the things we talked about last week, like when we were talking about Twitter's kind of dumpster fire that was happening, we kind of predicted this. If you go back and listen to last week's episode, we'll say like this could be the biggest app ever. Now, while we grossly underestimated the numbers, at least I did, I was like, yeah, this would get hundreds of thousands in a day. No. This was 10 times that. No. This was millions in a day. Enough so that in 5 days, they hit 100 million users on the platform. The fastest growing app ever. So the previous fastest, which happened in this same year or in the last 6 months or so, was ChatGPT. And it took, 2 weeks for them to hit 100 million. And that was significantly quicker than the one before that, which was TikTok, which took 9 months. So these things are like, it shows you there was just this massive hole of people who were just waiting on this thing. They just wanted a Twitter alternative, and it came around, and it was exactly the right time. I did see them also say that they did push this out exactly as we predicted last week too. They pushed this out ahead of schedule based on exactly what was happening at Twitter. Somebody said, hey, this was supposed to go out next week. What do we have today? and they pushed it out that day.
Go.
So, Paul, I have a question
Interest-
for you, man. I got a question
Go
for you,
ahead.
Paul, because I want to know your thoughts on this. So, like, if this thing is at 100 million users, do you think that the posters are going to come out and say the 7 things you can do on Twitter, on Threads right now to make $1 million? Do you think those are the kind of stuff we're going to see? Is it going to surpass AI? AI bros can be replaced with Threads bro. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, for sure. I think it doesn't matter where you go, you're gonna have the same stupid content and whatever it happens, But although like the one thing I wanted to say about Twitter like complaining like blah 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 blah. What was that like app that came out that did the like what are they called, like chat spaces where you could like talk in groups? Was like
Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse. And then Twitter just
right.
released that feature and Clubhouse disappeared. Like, I don't even know who even still uses Clubhouse. So to them to say like, oh, you're copying like whatever is just kind of insane because, they had the infrastructure. They're like, hey, we could roll out the same feature similar to this one. And now nobody uses Clubhouse because of all the things you had. What I like about what, Meta did is that, they created something that people can use that gave better user experience. And I like the fact that we have this like open market where if someone creates a better service or a better platform, people are going to move. And to me, as a business owner, like it's like you could have like a complete novel idea that nobody created to create a product and be the first one to the market, or you could take an existing service that exists and just make it better. And I think, for Elon, it's like instead of like crying about it and like whatever, it's like, the writing was on the wall. Like everybody kept saying like how much everything Twitter is doing is not what people are expecting Twitter to do. And people are disappointed and they're just on it because, it's the only game in town, like in terms of like the type of features you have and the number of users you had and just the ease of use. I know there's other platforms, but I just don't use them. And because Twitter's just convenient. And now like, Threads, it's better and just as convenient. And so it's like competition is a good thing. And instead, like 2 things could happen. It's like Elon Musk will continue to do what he's doing, or he's going to rethink and try to fix Twitter. But I think it's going to be a tall order with Threads around.
Here's the thing. I would say that subjectively saying Threads is better than Twitter, I would say, and let's talk about this real quick, because this kind of gives us like a comparison of the two, right? Depends on what you mean by better, because to some people, they definitely don't like it. It's not Twitter, right? Because it doesn't have the same feature set. I would say as a launch product, it definitely has less features than Twitter does. So whether you think it is better or not is subjective. Some people have really pushed back on it. And it's to do with a lot of the features that are here. So the top one, look what they led with at the top of this thing. Owner, not the number of things you can post. It is a feature. It is a feature, right? It's a feature. It's like literally they led with owner, basically because they know people don't like Elon Musk. Historically people haven't liked Mark Zuckerberg, but man, has he come out looking like a champ out of this thing? Seriously, he's the converted bad guy now. He's literally the good guy in this story, and that's insane.
He's a Bond. Zuckerberg's still a Bond villain, though, in my opinion.
Now he's the good guy. No, I think he's been converted.
I think though this is gonna push Elon Musk to take that MMA challenge more seriously, and maybe something will actually happen. And oh my gosh, that'll be like a real bad blood rivalry. It'll be like Rocky versus Drago, that type of level, because. And it might end in someone actually, getting really hurt due to this. Because I'm like, man, this is like worse than like my roommate asked my girlfriend out after I broke up with her, type of stuff. it's like, hey, I thought we were roommates. It's like, yeah, but I figured since you're no longer dating her, I thought this would be great. This is like way worse. Like that, I was able to move on, but like this, it's like, man, this is like, it's gonna be a rivalry that's gonna last into like, it's like, what's next? But at the same time, for me, what I like about Threads, is the fact that half the people I don't like on Twitter, because I feel like I don't care for your SaaS business and how to make $1 million. I don't care how AI could build the thing. I don't get to hear that. And people are having more genuine like conversations. Like,
yep. There's something to be said about starting over, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got a clean slate. Yeah, there is that is a feature. as much as people don't like to tell, they're like, oh man, I've got to start like my social graph again over here. I consider that a feature. I get to build up that social graph again. And you're right. The people that kind of annoyed me that maybe I just didn't unfollow or just let the thing stagnate over on Twitter, now I get to start that again, and I can be more kind of thoughtful about who I do follow and what I choose.
So I'm going to take the contrarian view here. As much as I like what happened here, I absolutely love that Facebook allows us in the US to bring up something competitive like this, because it keeps all of these companies honest. I don't think this is over yet, even with 100 million users and maybe 200 million by the end of the month. I really think that hashtags and trending stories, companies, like right now, it's just one giant global feed. Yeah. And it's kind of cool. I mean, but it's also not cool either, because you can't find, if news is trending, you can't find it on Thread. And so in a weird way, maybe both of these exist. The one thing I do like about Threads that I really, really like is they don't allow NSF, not safe for work content on it. I like that. I hope they don't ever come away from that. I think that's a good thing. Yeah. So I like that part of it, but like it's all just one massive global feed, because if they do allow that in, imagine what your feed's going to look like. It's going to look crazy. Well, so
they've also made a conscious decision. They have said they made a conscious decision to not, while they don't not allow it, they do not promote news or political stuff on the platform. That is a conscious decision. That's not by chance. They don't want to replace that aspect of Twitter, which makes me think that they'll probably never have hashtags on there. They may never have trending stories on there.
Mm-hmm.
See, and that's where I don't see it ever fully replacing Twitter, because that's what I would still go to Twitter for. Like if I'm looking at the Oscars or like a sporting event or something like that, I'm going to go to Twitter to chat about that event, because it's too hard to find something like that on Threads. So like if you want to talk about something that is happening live right now, or politics or anything like that, you're still going to need Twitter for that.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's missing a whole bunch of features. This doesn't even really go into what it is. It's like you say, search. This doesn't even talk about search on here, but search is a very different prospect on Threads than it is on Twitter. On Twitter, you can search for actual posts and content of posts and hashtags. On Threads, you can only at this point search for users. So you can
hot
search
turtle.
for...
You can search for hot
exactly.
turtle.
Nice. Someone knows who that is.
Paul's going to get like 50,000
his Instagram. I hear he has some music on it. The one thing I was going to say about Threads, I think Mark Zuckerberg just released it because he felt the timing and the opportunity was perfect. But I definitely don't think even he felt like it was a finished product. And I'm sure they're going to have all these features they're going to like roll out and come out. He just wanted to... It's like the way and the things like Elon was doing on Twitter and the decision he was making, he was like, oh, like if I wait too long, like I'm not going to have the same impact of getting new users. And so he just released, he has bajillion users. Some will leave, some will stay, but at least I feel like if he waited any longer, maybe one day Elon would wake up and be like, what am I doing with Twitter? I got to fix this. And he would start actually doing the things that would help, and so I feel like it's definitely not finished product, definitely missing features, but I think it's definitely a great start. And regardless, I think it's important to have like competition.
Yep, definitely.
Now, before everyone goes out and paints Mark Zuckerberg as the hero in this story, I think they're both kind of bad. I looked up and said, what does Facebook track? And I'm assuming that Threads does the same thing. No one's went and looked at it yet. It's been a week old. But they pull stuff off your phone. And here's like just a whole list of stuff. They can, if you have it on your phone, your health and fitness information.
It's the same for Threads.
Yeah, financial, location, browsing, search, home address, email address, phone, cameras, photos, IP address, type of device you have, device signals of the towers you hit. Like they're tracking everything, just like TikTok and just like the other one. So they're going to sell ads on this thing. I have no doubt that's going to come.
Yeah.
They're not going to not sell ads. It hasn't like Zuckerberg has changed his business model here. Hey, we're going to write a completely free Threads app.
No, they just have enough time and money to ramp it up.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. They have enough time to not have ads on it at this point. But I said in a post on here a few days ago that if you're a marketing manager and you have a choice between advertising on Twitter and advertising on Threads, it's not an option yet. Threads is a better option.
Yeah,
it's a growing platform.
one feed.
Facebook's it's one feed right now, but Facebook's targeting is way better than Twitter is. So I was speaking to our friend Hashim, who's ran ads on all these platforms. He's like, Twitter targeting is terrible. Like it just, you end up paying more because that's not hyper targeted. Facebook's, it's really good.
Yeah.
But you don't even have to target users in this. I don't think. I guess you could. Target.
No, you would. You would.
Dynamic
you would definitely
feed. Your feed could dynamically change. I guess you're
exactly.
right.
You would want to. Yeah, you would want to definitely target, and their targeting is really good. And they'll do it based on your larger kind of your larger profile, and they'll know exactly what you're into, and you'll get very targeted ads on Facebook. Because I've said it all along, the ones on Twitter are a terrible experience.
Yeah,
they always have been. It gives me stuff that I'm definitely not interested in. So the targeting is terrible. Period. And then it harasses me with just weird stuff. Like, but Facebook is good. If you go and scroll through your Instagram ads or or go on Facebook and look at the Facebook ads, they're pretty good. They're close to what you're actually have been looking for.
My Twitter ads are like the as seen on TV stuff. It's like it's always this guy's got this dumb gadget. I'm like, why do I care about this thing? You know,
the one feature I like on Twitter that you could actually block ads. Apparently, you could just say unfollow, like block, don't show me this content. So I have like really like very what's that word? Dictatorship type of curated experience. Because I literally, if someone makes a thing that I don't want, I'm like Stalin, like get out of here. You know, it's like and I like the fact that I can do that because I don't hear anybody that I don't want to listen to. And people like, well, how are you supposed to get open opinion? I'm like, I don't want to hear your opinion. If I want to hear your opinion, I would talk to you in person in real life. You know what I mean? And so to me, that's a feature, right? And same to me, like if somebody doesn't want to hear me, I like how you could block people silently too. That's just like amazing. It's like you're going to think of your friends because you're like, oh, he's still following me. I see zero of your content. You know, it's like I don't really even know you exist anymore, and you get to feel like we're still friends. It's great. One thing I was going to say, I do respect. Yeah, which is great. But one thing I was going to say about Mark Zuckerberg, I give him a lot of credit that he's been getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, you know, like anybody could enter the same competition he goes to in his weight class, and you could try to break his arm. And a lot of respect, you know, to someone who puts themselves out there. Because jiu-jitsu is like a sport where you either tap or you get hurt, and it is what it is. And the fact that, you know, he's doing it and putting himself at that risk, because like when he had his first match, it's like he's not like really the best or that good, but man, a lot of credit because you getting your butt kicked in front of everybody and all those videos on YouTube now, and it's like, you can't be a punk. Like, and so I respect that. He's putting himself out there knowing that he could embarrass himself. He's literally like one match away from being embarrassed. Like,
did you see the pictures from a couple of days ago with him training? He was MMA training with a couple of MMA guys. Apparently.
Yeah. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
It's a tough sport. And if Elon and Zuck decide to do this MMA fight, I think it's going to be the fight of the century. Like,
I think Elon gets wiped. He gets the floor wiped up on. Yeah.
He's a big dude.
I will tell you one thing: if it's pay-per-view, which it will be, I'm not buying it.
Logan Paul,
getting a penny of my money.
Get a Logan Paul undercard.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that would, if it's like that. Oh god, that would be the biggest prize draw and sold. Like if they
have a bone
to
pick with Logan Paul, I'll tell you later.
So we put Logan Paul, and then we get the Elon Zuck match, and then we just go ahead and just do Trump versus Biden match. We just
like if they do
80-year-olds go for it.
If they do, if they do like Logan versus there's another character, Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate versus Logan. Yep. Zuck versus Elon, and then Biden versus Trump. Like this is gonna break the entertainment industry. It's going to make $1 trillion. It's not even going to be in billions. It's going to be like
they're not getting a penny of my money.
I mean, I'm not going to pay for it either. There's ways. Hypothetically,
right?
I hear.
Let's talk about one last thing about Spaces then or about Thread Story before we move on. That there is a beta for this, and I think you've been playing with this, right, Sarah?
Yes, yeah, I'm on the beta. I literally check the App Store, the Google Play Store, like several times a day to update it because Mosseri did say that a following feed was coming this week. Yeah. And so I literally check the beta, and it updates a couple times a day.
Okay.
But I still have not found any new features at all in the beta.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
The other thing I'll
So-
mention too is that we got 100 million users. This thing isn't even in the EU yet.
I was going to say
which is
that
kinda
too when
crazy.
you were talking about the privacy thing, because that's the reason
Yeah.
that it's not in the EU yet. So 100 million without the EU too is super crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy numbers. Yeah, so we'll check back in with you next week, maybe, Sarah.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be a weekly thing. Like, hey, anything new in the beta yet? Or if something new does come up, you can tell us about it if it's interesting.
I know, like
'Cause I'm
as
sure they'll
soon
pay
as
that
I see
first.
that following feed, I am taking a video for sure. Like that's why I'm also been updating Discord like all day, every day because I'm in the beta for Discord. They announced, so sorry to detract,
go for
but
it.
they announced some family center, like so supervision for your kids on Discord, and they announced it, but I have not been able to like access the feature. Like you can't announce something and then like not have it available. So
Yeah, I
Thanks a
hate
lot,
that.
Discord.
When the feature's out there, but like you just can't get it for some reason. That's the
Yeah.
worst.
So I've been updating that. Like I visit the App Store literally like, once an hour.
So this week, there was also a class action lawsuit filed on behalf of 6 plaintiffs. So a bunch of people you've probably never heard of. I'm going to probably butcher some of these names. Paul Tremblay, Mona Awad, Christopher Golden, Richard Kadri, and the one that you probably have heard of you're seeing right here is Sarah Silverman. So she's going to be kind of the face for this, I think, but she's one of a bunch of authors that have filed this class action lawsuit against both OpenAI and Meta. So this class action, the lawyers involved in this, by the way, have also previously filed lawsuits against GitHub Copilot and Stable Diffusion. So this is not new to them. They have, my guess is maybe they sort out these authors. I'm just speculating, but based on the fact that they've done some other these things, they managed to find some people who they think like, hey, we can get these people on board and it's kind of their thing, I think. I don't know that, but that's kind of what I'm speculating. Seems like it could go that way.
I think
So-
you're right.
Yeah. What they're claiming is that their books were copied by OpenAI and Meta without consent, without credit, and without compensation. So what they're stating is when ChatGPT, and the reason they feel this way is that when ChatGPT is prompted, ChatGPT generates summaries of their copyrighted works, something that is only possible if ChatGPT was trained on the plaintiff's copyrighted works. So I did read through a chunk of this filing, and there's some really interesting stuff in here. So OpenAI have previously disclosed that 15% of their total ChatGPT training dataset came from 2 internet-based books corpora that they called Books 1 and Books 2. Just generic like names that they said, hey, these 2 datasets called Books 1 and Books 2, and we trained 15% of their datasets, a pretty big number. This is their total dataset for training ChatGPT 3. So what that totaled to was 360,000 books in those 2 datasets. Those are the numbers that they gave. So in the lawsuit, they're like, well, hold on a second. Non-copyright material book datasets, the biggest one, Gutenberg Library, is nowhere near that big. It totals about 60,000. So they're like, well, therefore, it must contain copyrighted material. It has to, for them to have the numbers that large. There is no available data set that is that large of books that is also non-copyright. So that's how they're kind of piecing this together, because you could make the argument that, well, it knows the summaries based on maybe what it read on Amazon, or it read a summary of a summary, and it's like doing it based on that. But so that's their kind of that's their point with this. They're saying, hey, you clearly your data set kind of sucked up our book, you ingested it, and you're now able to give us a summary because you've done that, and that book is copyright protected, so therefore I'm going to sue you for copyright infringement. So Sarah, how do you think this plays out? Where does this go?
So the interesting thing to me as a child of the 80s and 90s is how is this really different from the way I got through English in high school, which is Cliff Notes, where somebody's like literally reading the book and then creating the Cliff Notes book, and you buy the Cliff Notes book and you get an A on your paper. But how is that different? It's a machine reading the book and then providing the summary or the Cliff Notes. So I get maybe that, but I don't see how that's necessarily copyright infringement when like I'm reading this and I'm giving you a summary. Like, you can do that on YouTube. I can read a book and give a summary of something. So that's kind of a gray area for me. As a content creator on the other side, I can see where like, hey, this is my copyrighted material and you're using it, for profit, basically, because they're providing these summaries. And so I don't have to go buy the book. I'm just going to get the summary from ChatGPT or whatever. So it's a real gray area for me where I'm like, I can see where that's not so bad, but I can also see where like, content creators need to be, compensated and allowed to make money from their work because they're working hard on it. So
I feel like if they prove that, yes, they use copyrighted materials and not someone's summary of a book that nobody wanted to read anyway, I feel like, I feel like, people should be compensated. And I feel any resource that OpenAI used to generate, there should be references that you could go and see exactly where the data was pulled from. I think that is an important part because otherwise, people will continue to claim this, fact. And so I totally agree. And I'm not a big fan of Sarah Silverman, but I do agree for any creator who actually is able to prove in court that their copyrighted material was used should be compensated. It's only fair. I feel like I wouldn't want to work really hard to publish a book and have it, be used without me giving permission or without someone paying for it. But at the same time, I feel like it's like, Sarah, you said, there's so many people that will read a book and summarize it on YouTube or write a blog post about it. And that could have been the training data, which will give you similar results. So I feel, 100% creators should have some sort of way to benefit from work that has been used to train these models. But at the same time, to your point, Kevin, I feel like there are certain law firms that specialize in this new kind of suing model that they have came up with. And they just want to make money because at the end of the day, who's going to make the most money? It's the lawyers. It's the organizations that are actually like doing that stuff. And so they just need someone to be the face of the lawsuit to kind of go through it. And I feel regardless if they win or lose, they're still getting paid. So it's just like, it's a good gig to have. So if anyone's looking to go to law school, that's the one benefit. No matter how you're involved, you're still getting paid, which is insane.
I think that I think I see how this is going to play out. I think that they're going to have to go back to the training data, and I think this is going to go to courts, and they're going to have to index all the training data and all the sources.
Yeah,
and then people are going to be able to opt out of the training data. So if you don't want your book in OpenAI, you're going to be able to pull it out. The problem with that is I don't think that's going to be technically possible, which means that they may have to start over and retrain it. And that's a problem. I think they picked Sarah Silverman. I'm not a fan of hers either, but if I was going to pick someone,
I mean, she's become the face of this. Like I said, there's 6 authors in the thing here, but that's just a case of it's a class action too. Don't forget. So it's on behalf of other authors as well. There's just 6 plaintiffs named, but it's like, hey, everybody who's an author, because this thing had, like I said, 360,000 books. Chances are you wrote a book before a certain time frame. It's in that data set.
Yeah. So true story. I'm on a Discord group with a bunch of guys I play video games with. I get in a Discord and we play video games together. One of the guys is an AI guy. He took my YouTube channel. He summarized every single thing in it and made an LLM of our YouTube channel, Kevin.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's not.
No. It's not awesome for you. I totally get it. What's awesome is like the fact that you could do that now, because I'm actually building an application that I made a project similar to what he did for fun, but I'm building one which allows you to easily create chatbots based on like your domain specific documents that you have.
Your voice.
Right. And I'm not mad at the guy for doing it. He didn't publish it or anything like that. I'm not mad at him, but like, it's like, it made me like think twice about like, wow, okay, so people could just go to YouTube, suck all the videos up, and then you don't have to watch YouTube anymore at Coder Finder. You can just go to this chatbot and ask it questions about me.
No, I don't think people, that's not how people experience YouTube. Like part of it, especially with the live streams, it's part of it is to get that genuine reaction and to be part of the thing. Like, I think that ability to summarize YouTube videos existed for a long time. It's just, nobody really cares for that feature unless you have like a very specific use case, so.
But back
I just
to
want to
the-
know. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
No, so if you're able to, like you were saying about like opting out or anything like that,
Mhm.
it might be even more beneficial to try and do some sort of like revenue share, kind of like with the music platforms where
Mhm.
if somebody plays part of your song on Spotify, like you get, 5 cents or whatever. But, kind of incorporating something like that where creators are getting paid if their copyrighted material is used. And then that might help kind of bridge that gap a little bit. I don't know.
But we know these large corporations historically hate paying creators.
Well, sure.
They hate
Yes, they
it.
do.
Like,
Well, there's that.
We said this from day one when we saw ChatGPT come out back in November. We said day one, the lawyers are coming for this, and that may be the death of AI. Like, it won't be robots; it'll be lawyers that kill it. They'll kill the Terminator and put him in court. That's
sure.
what's happening.
Yep.
We'll just see. I hope they win. I hope she wins because I think that creators should get paid for. If you write a book, whether you like the book or not, she should get paid for it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think they're going to be able to prove, I think they're going to be able to prove that it is part of the data set. I think that's going to be, because they're going to have to, clearly they're going to ask for that in discovery. They're going to say, hey, so send me those two books 1 and books 2 that you use, please. Because you have to have them, right? They have to, and they have to be able to provide them. If they, through discovery, they're going to ask for them for sure. And they're going to try and not provide them, I'm sure, because they know at this point, I guarantee you those books are in there. There's certainly, and if they're not, there's certainly copyright material that is in there. Because like they said, there's no data set that big. There is no uncopyrighted data set as big as 360,000 books. Therefore, there's only one logical conclusion. It's all copyright material.
So think about this worst case scenario for OpenAI. What's at stake here? The judge could force them to push the LLM into the public domain. And then OpenAI doesn't have anything. So they're going to have to, I think this will get settled. I think they'll pay her. And she'll have, I don't know how they'll work out a deal, but
you're right. The lawyers will push for that, but we don't want that. We don't want that as the public.
No.
We want it to go to the point where they have to prove what's what.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
It's in there. The book is in there.
Yeah.
That is actually crazy. Like what you bring up, like the fact that they could just settle and that the only people that benefit is the lawyer and her, and that's it.
Right.
And that's to me, like the fact that you could do that, it's like, that is the strategy. People just want to make their money and they know that they have the money to pay out. And that's kind of unfortunate because other creators won't really benefit unless it goes like the full ride and there's some sort of laws that are passed.
It just depends on how cranky Sarah Silverman really is.
Oh, she could be cranky. So
that's what I mean. So like if she hates Zuckerberg or Zuckerberg says something bad about her, this thing could go to the mat because you can just see her doing that. I mean, at least that's her persona. Like she'll take it to the nth degree because she's that person. That's why
maybe it's the right person.
She is the right person for this because she's a comedian. The worst person you ever attack is a comedian because they'll just destroy you. Never heckle a comedian. That's just, don't do it. Like you always get in trouble. So, I think she wins. It's either going to be settled or they'll have to find a way to pull this out of the data set, which I don't know if it's entirely possible at this point.
Fun Sarah Silverman tangent. When I first started creating content on the internet, my Sarah Silverman was dating Jimmy Kimmel. And so anytime I Googled my name, it was all Sarah Silverman and Jimmy Kimmel. Like,
that's so
all
funny.
all of it. I have now taken over the search for Sarah Kimmel, but
nice.
I was grateful when they broke up, I will say.
That is so wild.
You're like, please don't marry him. Please don't marry him. I need to rank high in Google.
Right.
That's great. So, Paul, this was a story that you had suggested here that we talk about. Now, this story isn't new, but the fact that we've previously talked about robot dogs with flamethrowers, and if you haven't heard that a couple weeks back, go back to episode 20, I believe. Robo dogs with flamethrowers are over there. So this story kind of came up as kind of a tangent to that, really. But Israel has an AI-controlled machine gun that's in the occupied West Bank city of Hebron or Hebron. I'm not quite sure how you say it. So here's the thing. this article calls it a machine gun, but I will say it is technically non-lethal. I know non-lethal doesn't actually mean that it can't kill you. They call those beanbag guns non-lethal, but people have died from those. Like if it hits you in the wrong place, it's bad. It's non-lethal. It fires stun grenades, sponge-tipped bullets, which I'm sure hurt like heck if they hit you, and is also capable of firing tear gas. So they set this up, I guess, in this town at this like border checkpoint. So, Paul, does this fall under your rule of not giving pointy sticks to things that can recognize faces, or is it a whole different thing?
100%. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't feel like, and I know they didn't go into too much detail of how it works, like under the hood, but like I don't think AI should make the decision who to hit into face with some sort of projectile. Even if it's...
No, I wonder what the AI part in here is, because they don't go into specifics, do they?
Yeah.
Which is worrying.
Yeah. It's like...
Well, it said if you looked like a Palestinian.
But I'm sure that can't be the criteria, though.
I know, right?
No,
it can't be based on like, well, you look like a certain type of person. Therefore, I mean, that would... Although, I don't know. I don't know that it doesn't, but
it might
I
have,
don't know
like,
how it does.
If they get too close, just shoot them automatically. I don't know. Like, I mean, again, they don't go into any details, but to me, like, it's not even the fact that, oh, it's not lethal, it's lethal. It's the fact that the trend is, let's put AI in everything and let's try to figure out how we create these weapon systems. And for me, like with imagination, it's like, combine this turret with that robot dog and you pretty much have a functional, like, early version of a Terminator. You know what I mean? And so we just need Skynet to happen. And I feel like there's definitely needs to be care that goes into managing, like, where we put AI into, you know. Weapons should probably not be like and I'm sure people have already done it. Like, I mean, I think this is like too late. It's it's
been around for a while, though. I mean, they already have like missile defense systems use AI to track and target targets. Aircraft carriers have automatic things to shoot missiles out of the sky if it's tracking the plane or coming towards the ship. But this does hit different, as the kids would say. You know, like you just
this
mount
is proper
a gun
dystopian,
up.
isn't it?
Yeah, you know, and then
look at the image.
Like, shoot you.
Yeah, this looks like something from a movie set. This like turnstile door with this like AI gun sat above it. Yep. Like, I'm assuming there are points in the day where people do actually pass through this gate, right? Like, I would be scared to death of trying to go.
That'd be a scary gate to pass through.
Wouldn't it? Because you don't know. You're like, AI's controlling that. Like, what if I do a certain thing that it doesn't like? I don't know what. They don't go into the parameters, but it would be worrying.
So the other thing that the Air Force has is it's called a Tron system, not the movie or the old thing, but like Tron is like it detects friend or foe. It's kind of like an advanced QR tag. I'm sure it's better now. When it first came out, it was like an advanced thing. You can see it at night and things like that. So troops, vehicles, whatever would have this special tag. And then weapon systems could detect if it's a friend or foe. And then it would, so you could, even if you're in a helicopter at night, you would say, okay, that's a friendly, so I don't fire on the friendlies. And so this could be something similar to that. We do know, not putting a conspiracy hat or anything, Israelis and the U.S. kind of tightly, we kind of trade secrets and weapon systems. So, like, you know, we probably test things in Israel. Sure. But I would imagine there could be a Tron system in it that where if you're a soldier on the other side of this, it wouldn't shoot you, but shoot everyone else. So,
I mean,
what could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. It's very reassuring. Very reassuring. Like, I mean, it's like, oh, I forgot my wallet at home. Oh,
exactly.
I get shot. Jesus Christ! I didn't plan on this. That's like, you know, you go to Starbucks, you forget your wallet. It's okay. You forget your tag in this situation. But at the same time, I was like, how much does it cost? Like, I have a balcony here, and I really don't like people that wear their socks like past up to their knees. You know, like they just shouldn't be allowed to do that. Like, why would you do that? Yeah, just have write a little AI model and just like, hey, are your socks like to your knees? You don't belong next to my neighborhood. Like, get the hell out of here.
It's non-lethal. It's fine.
Non-lethal.
What about socks and sandals?
It'll shoot cats. You know, it'll shoot like cats with sharp claws. You know, that's I got to figure that out.
Socks and sandals are in at the minute.
I don't know. Socks and sandals is a sin.
It's in.
It's a
no,
sin.
It's in at the minute.
Socks and sandals is terrible.
Me. The kids with socks and sandals. Trust me. Go look.
So It's interesting how styles just happen. I woke up one day and I just decided to wear pink everywhere, and I just don't care for it. But I'm realizing I'm getting judged like really hardcore, and so I went to jiu-jitsu the other day. I have pink like
I hate
like
pink.
Pink Crocs.
Oh,
I have
nice.
like a pink
like
shorts,
those.
pink t-shirt, and I go to practice where there's a bunch of killers like trying to kill each other in May, and I'm like wearing all pink, and like someone comes up to me and he's like, "Is this on purpose?" I'm like, listen, I didn't actually plan on like doing this, and then so now I have these stories. It's like I'm trying to like have people judge me in ways like as if I don't know what I'm doing, you know?
This is the thing where nobody wants to fight you though, Paul, because it's like once you get beat by the guy that shows up in all pink, it's like they're just going to be like,
oh yeah, it's like the people get really
it's intimidating.
Yeah, it's very
it's great intimidation.
For sure.
I like it.
Like,
you need a pink hot turtle T-shirt. That's what you need.
Nice. Yes. I love this idea.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I
Just
have
a
to make
pink
one.
turtle right in the middle. Hot turtle.
I think I should start like a t-shirt making business, like my own merch.
I like it
for sure.
For audio only listeners, I have pink hair, so I definitely don't not like pink. Double negative.
Well, I put it just since we're talking about styles. I was eating the other day and I saw a guy who's my age, is in the 50s, wearing a Taylor Swift concert tee.
Mm.
And
I told you.
I put the
T-Swift is
tweet
the
out and said,
unifier.
"Who can wear this? Is it acceptable?" And I was thinking I would never wear that. Apparently, I'm wrong. You're allowed. You can be a Swiftie at any age, I guess.
You can. She is the unifier of everything. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I get it.
I don't know. Miley Cyrus all the way. I don't know.
I mean, does it hit as
fans.
strong as like an Iron Maiden T-shirt? I feel like you can rock that, but like Taylor Swift,
at any
I don't
age,
know.
yeah, at any age.
Hey, that's my husband's favorite band.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Taylor
Iron
Swift?
Maiden.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, definitely not. Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden, yeah, that's a big fan of.
A Canadian judge has recently ruled that a thumbs up emoji can now be a binding legal agreement. So here's how this went down. Basically, a guy sent a text message about wanting to buy a bunch of flax. I guess it's a common ingredient in a bunch of stuff that we eat, right? It's like think of it as like grain or whatever you want to call it, it's flax, to several grain producers. So he sent this text message out, and he received a call back from a company who was willing to sell him some. So he spoke to them over the phone. He then drew up a contract, and he e-signed it and sent it over to the seller, and said, "Hey, please confirm the flax contract." That seller then sent a thumbs up emoji back to them. The person buying the flax seed then just assumed that was it. It's now a done deal. They never actually signed the contract, and the goods were never they never got them. They were never delivered. So they're like, okay, we're gonna sue them. This is now they sued over exactly that and won. The judge basically said that the thumbs up that they sent back was legally binding, and the defense was my favorite part about this story is the defense, and I'm thinking this is why they actually won, because the defense was so bad. The guy claimed not to be an expert in emojis. That's a quote. He's not an expert in emojis, and had never Googled the meaning of a thumbs up emoji. So he's basically claiming, hey, I have no idea what thumbs up means. I don't know, just like it's an emoji. I have no idea. I sent back some random emoji. They were eventually awarded $61,000 for breach of contract because of this. So, Bobby, I'm going to come to you for this one. Are you now going to think twice about when I text you asking for something when you respond with a thumbs up? Because that could now be legally binding.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Like, number one, I'm wondering, did the guy ever pay for it? Did any money ever exchange hands? I mean, like, in other words, I said I was going to do it. It's insane. What they should have argued with, it's just like, hey, the emoji means okay, I'll look at it. Because no one knows what thumbs up means. You can't come out and say
that. Well, that is what they did argue. They did argue that. They argued that the thumbs up was meant to be that I had received the contract.
Right.
Not that I agreed to it.
Right. Which is all he said. But I don't think we can start signing things with emojis, because we all know emojis they change over time. they're in, they're out. You can say things with an emoji and suddenly you've offended 13-year-olds everywhere. You're like, I didn't know. Like, how am I supposed to know this stuff? You know? So I think that all contracts, and this is just Canada, hopefully in the US, that they should be signed and accepted like how every other contract is done until this one where we text and we emoji it back. What I liked about what this judge says, that he didn't want to restrict the common use of computers. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? This is an emoji. Like, I mean, what other emojis could we agree to?
Right. Like what else would have meant positive and what would have meant negative? Right. If it is sent a thumbs down, is that a binding contract that it's a negative? Like that I don't know. What if he just sent a gold star? Is it just the fact that it's a thumbs up? Like, I don't know. You're right. Which ones are positive and which ones are negative?
What about the laughing face with the tears? I mean, what does that mean?
Binding. You're in.
Well, the defense was like, I'm afraid, Judge, that this is going to set a really bad precedent. And the judge said that the judge dismissed his concern. And I said, did the judge dismiss his concern with a gavel emoji?
I love it.
That's great.
This is the most ridiculous thing. I think it's like, to me, a contract, when someone says it's a contract, it's like I'm always thinking it's a paper that I sign or something that's official looking. Anything that you put on Twitter, your message, whatever, that it's like I don't know, especially emoji, that just makes no sense to me. It's pretty wild. And exactly like what Bobby said, it's like thumbs up means, yes, I will take a look at the contract. Doesn't mean that you're going to agree to anything. It's like my mom texting me like, hey, you're going to be here for dinner at whenever. And I'm like, thumbs up. And then I don't show up because I just fell asleep. Like whatever. It's like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. And it's like, it can't be like, oh, now all of a sudden my mom could sue me and win the fact that I just decided to take a nap, and it's
I'd
pretty
back
wild.
your mom on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with my mom too, as well. But it's just like, but it's wild to me that you could have these ridiculous cases and people could win. I
just have this strange feeling like that the judge got annoyed by the fact that they tried to claim not to be an expert in emojis and had no idea what a thumbs up meant. I just have a feeling that that's well, don't be an idiot. Therefore, I'm going to slap you with this thing anyway, because you're trying to get away with something clearly here when you could have just said, I just meant, okay, I'll take a look at it. You could have just left it there.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this won, because no reasonable person thinks you can sign a contract with an emoji. It's never been done before in the history of humanity.
That's now.
And so that's what I would have argued. Like, no one thinks that this means I'm going to sign anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not binding at all. Second, they didn't exchange money, which is usually, is the contract signed? Yeah. Until I see the money. I mean, then it's signed, write me a check. So I think that's what I found bizarre. I think it's Canada.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know what the $61,000 represents so it's a breach of contract is what it was awarded for. Yeah. Now I don't know if it's I'm guessing that's not. I don't know if that's an out-of-pocket expense this person was subjected to, or maybe they had to pay $61,000 more. I don't know what the original contract was for, whether it was the whole amount of the contract, or it's part of it, or the amount they had to pay. Because what happened in the meantime was, because they thought they were getting the delivery, the price went up.
Right.
So my guess is that they were damaged. So I'm guessing that's what it is. I'm guessing it's $61,000 in damages. They had to pay $61,000 more to get the goods from somewhere else, is my guess. But they just called it for breach of contract, so I'm not really sure.
But what person running a business they gave us a thumbs up. I guess we're good.
Go for it.
Seems like you would have called them. I don't know. It's bizarre to me that this is where we're going in the legal realm. But I guess orals are binding contracts. But they're hard to enforce.
And handshakes too. I mean, going really old school, a handshake could be considered a legally binding contract as well.
But an emoji could have been sent by anybody. I mean,
True.
Yeah, I think the context of this one matters. It just seems the context just seems like, well, of course he gave a thumbs up as just like a thing. It was the contract he sent him was e-signed. So I'm guessing it's something like we use Adobe e-sign at Coda Foundry. And it's just a very simple thing. You get an email, you can pre-sign it on the one end, you get it on the other end, and you then e-sign it. If they don't e-sign it, if we needed a contract with somebody, they just gave us a thumbs up back, you would never take that as like, well, of course they're in. Let's start building the software.
Exactly.
You'd call him up and be like, so you give me a thumbs up. Are you going to send that contract over?
Are we good?
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Can you sign it? It's crazy.
But I'm curious to see what other emojis they're gonna bring out. So you won't be able to change
Are we gonna
thumbs
get a
up
list?
ever again. I mean, like, you can't change.
Are we going to
it
get a
anymore.
list of what's legally binding? Is it just thumbs up? That's what I'm
Thumbs
wondering.
up,
Is there a
yeah.
list of like ones that are and aren't?
Yeah.
Anytime you communicate with that judge, he communicates solely in emojis.
So what are prayer hands? What do they mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. This dude's
Kiss your
forever
butt
going to be the
goodbye
emoji
because you're
judge,
about
isn't
to get sued to oblivion. That's what that means.
Because prayer hands can mean lots of things. It can mean thank
Yeah.
you, you're awesome. It can mean literally pray, but like it can be lots of things. I don't know what prayer hands means. Yeah.
No,
It's-
you're right.
it's-
Interpretation is a lot. Context means everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm no longer liking anybody's post just in case. Just in case. It's like, oh, it's a binding contract.
What about
this
legally
is
binding
true.
gifts? Like, can we get
Oh,
the
no.
like Jan, the
Yes.
sure Jan? Sure
Yeah.
Jan.
Exactly. Oh yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah, double thumbs up anything is like big time trouble now. You respond to that with anything and you're now fully in. You're legally bound to whatever that person's now said.
Yeah. I mean, if you take it to the nth degree, if someone posts something and you like it, and suddenly that's illegal, does that mean that you support illegal activity, or like it's just kind of crazy? I don't like it. I think we should have to say explicitly before we can get in trouble. I don't think a picture, but I guess a picture conveys 1,000 words. I guess that's what the judge is saying.
It's true.
There's an emoji.
An emoji is at least a signature.
I'm sure there's
Yep.
like a backstory. The judge just clearly didn't like that person.
Yeah.
It's like, you're the guy that cut me off this morning. I remember your face. It was totally you. You know what?
60,000.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even care. The emojis, no emojis. You just lost.
I do believe that's what happened. Not that he cut him off, but I do believe, back to my original point, that because he tried to argue that he didn't understand what emojis were, and he was just like this, trying to put out this defense that's like just ridiculous. That
I'm
the judge
an
is
idiot.
like, yeah, exactly. The judge is like, I know you're not an idiot, and for that, it's just like I'm gonna fine you. I'm sure that's how it went down. It's just such a.
Could he submit his whole
argument.
brief in emojis? The whole thing.
Yeah. But that's wild with judges is because they have that power that they don't really have to justify when they make a decision. So I went to court a while back.
Yeah.
It was like for a speeding ticket. And I literally told the judge, it's my fault. I broke, the law. I was going faster than I anticipated. And he literally looked at me. He's like, I appreciate your honesty. The fact that you showed up and you're very well prepared and very well dressed. I could see that you put in an effort. Unlike some of these folks here, which was like, please don't say that, judge, because I'm not good. I was in a really
Like, I
rough
need to leave
neighborhood.
this courtroom.
I'm like, I still have to walk outside to my car to get there. Probably won't make it. And he literally said, why can't most of you be like this fine young gentleman? I'm like, I'm definitely getting shot today. And he's just like completely like, let my ticket go. I didn't have to do that. And then there's another person. I don't think this person could have said anything to this judge. The judge just didn't like him. And it was like triple the ticket. Of course, the guy was like complaining about it. And the judge said, if you complain again, I'm going to have to call someone. And the dude went from like a ticket to being handcuffed and led away. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, and that's to me is scary. Like I was on the lucky side that, whatever, but that's, the powers some people have. And
So you decided not to wear the pink Crocs to court.
No, when I go to court, are you kidding me? Anybody so there's a context for everything. Like, right. If you go to court, dress appropriately. And the people that don't and it worked out like for me a bunch of times where I was like polite, courteous, and dressed appropriately. Like,
That's your new Threads handle. Judge's pet.
Judge's pet. Oh my gosh! Yeah, it's yeah.
I can see that being.
Judge's pet turtle.
Listen,
Sell a course on it, Paul. $9.95.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
good,
but-
ticket.
Yeah, how to get out of speed ticket.
I just to me, it just blows my mind. Like, as I've been through various reasons in courts, not anything in my, like, I didn't do anything bad. It's just like the normal, like, stuff you do when you're separated and have children. You just have to show up and do like whatever. But you see other people, and what would blow my mind, how just being courteous and polite, how 90% of people don't do that, and they just have the worst time in court. And I'm like, you could have just kept your mouth shut. And I remember like this was not it's just crazy. I could talk about this like forever, but I remember like talking to like my ex at the time, and she literally had everything like going on, right? And then she just decided to like say all these things, and the more she said it, I wanted to like tell her like, just please stop, like, because it's not going to end well. I felt guilty. The judge like made the ruling in my like thing, and I was like, oh my god. And then she got really upset, and like I was just like, all you had to do was just stop talking. We had equal terms, we both agreed, and then you just kept pushing and pushing, and I didn't even want that to happen because I was happy, but I wasn't going to argue with the judge, and then so like yeah, it was pretty wild. The last year she had to pay child support to me, which is like insane,
crazy.
And I was like, you just gotta stop talking. I have no problem. I paid like, you know, all this, whatever. And it was like a good gig because at that time, like the first part, Marissa like lived with her mom, and then from 12 and onward, she lived with me, and I just still continued to pay child support and all that stuff. I'm like, you have a good gig going. Just like, you know, and she had to complain.
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
Always be nice to the judge.
Always be nice to judge and to
Moral
people
of the
in
story.
general. Just be to people in general.
And the AI
I
overlords.
like that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yes,
message.
and
Just
the
be
AI
nice to
overlords
people.
for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And to your
people
AI
and machines.
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on to our recommendations and not recommendations then. Let's go down the list. Sarah, you are up first. What do you have this week?
Okay, so I live in suburban Utah in the summer, and it is like, I think, the breeding place of door-to-door solicitors. And so my null is door-to-door solicitors.
They are the worst.
They are.
Do you answer the door?
No. But okay,
Okay.
sometimes I have just like, I don't know, I did recently because I wanted to do this. My city, and I think more cities have this, and this is my not null, that people aren't really aware of their city ordinances. So the city ordinance for the city that I live in requires any door-to-door solicitor to have a badge issued by the city. So, and they have to pay like $50 for that badge. I have not met a single door-to-door solicitor that has had the city official badge. And we have a no soliciting sign on our door. And so the last person that came to the door, I'm like, I just really felt like, because they were posting on our neighborhood Facebook group, everybody like, these guys are relentless, they're jerks, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I answered the door and I'm like, hey, let me see your Lehigh Solicitor's badge. And he's like, well, I've got this. And it was like a badge for his company. And I'm like, no, I need your Lehigh Solicitor's badge. And he's like, I'm like, because you knocked on my door and I have a no soliciting sign and you can be fined $1,000 for knocking on my door. So let me see your badge so I can report you. And he left.
Of course he did.
So was he
This is the
selling
problem, though.
roofing?
He just went next
What was he
door.
selling? Roofing?
Security.
Encyclopedias? Security signs, yeah.
It
Right.
was Vivint. I don't know if you guys have Vivint.
No.
Yep. Yep. Vivint is around here.
Yeah.
I don't have it, but they are around here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an issue, isn't it? The no solicitation sign. Like, what do they expect to happen? Like, if you have a no solicitation sign on your door and somebody knocks on the door and you answer it, do they really, really expect that they are that good of a salesperson that they're going to be able to convince you and sell you something?
Well,
You'd just
actually,
walk on, wouldn't you?
a lot of the training for these door-to-door salesmen tell them to go to no soliciting doors, because those are the people who are like, you're vulnerable, like you aren't able to say no. That's why you put this no soliciting sign on your door. And you're more likely to buy when you have a no soliciting sign. So that they're trained to
That's
knock on
interesting.
your door.
I had a sales call the other day, and I generally am the person who does never answer those calls, right? But it was a local number, and I have an out of town number for here. I don't have so it's a 336 area number here, but I have a Columbus number, a 614 number. So I was like, oh, it's a local number, and those generally for me are actual people that I want to talk to. So I'm like the only people that have my number, and it wasn't. It was sales, and I answered it. And it was somebody trying to sell me solar panels. And my goal during this was just to keep him on the phone. And
There you go.
I did. I just kept asking him questions. And then I eventually just said, nah, I'm not interested. And then he asked me at least 4 times after I said, I'm not interested. I said, I'm not interested 4 separate times. And he eventually just hung up. But I wasted about 15 minutes of his day.
Wow.
So
That's fun.
I was going to say, I used to solicit folks for various enterprise endeavors that I had going on when I was younger. And so anytime someone had solicit sign or whatever, you just go to the house with no cares given. And true, our town, at the time I lived in West Hartford, Connecticut, you had to have a badge, which I would get because I didn't want to pay no fines. But the signs that work the best are the ones that have an angry looking dog. Never went to those houses ever. Never went to those houses because
Good tip.
you know what? If don't put no solicit, just put a scariest picture of a dog like that. People will just know they're gonna get mauled if they even like knock at your door. And
Modern day
that's
scarecrow.
yeah,
That's-
exactly.
you
And that's how you solve your or get that AI powered machine gun. that
Yeah,
shoots,
we can do that.
you
That is
know,
an option.
Oh, there's that.
sponge triggered bullets or tripped, whatever, tipped. Yeah.
I like it. Okay, Bobby, what you got?
So I got a couple of things. I've been doing some remodeling in my house, and and it took longer than expected. And my Peloton bike was in the basement, and I uncovered it, and now I'm riding the Peloton again.
Nice.
Okay.
But that's kind of cool. But the other thing, my super not knowing, you can put this on the screen, Kevin, is that we have the free Kevin T-shirt in the Coder Foundry store. So Kevin,
Oh,
Yes,
Twitter
I
Joe.
almost bought it. I see you guys are both wearing it
We're
today,
both
and I'm
wearing
like,
it.
dang it, I need
Free
to buy
Kevin.
it so we can all wear it.
Free Kevin.
Free Kevin.
We do. Hold on. I will pull it up here. Where is it? It's right here. Here it is. And yes,
Free Kevin.
I do have mine on today.
Free Kevin.
I love it
Nice.
so much. Can we start sending them to Elon?
That's it. We should
Maybe.
need to buy
Maybe
Elon
that's the only
one.
way he responds.
Yeah.
That would be
Um,
kind of hilarious if we sent
Yeah,
them
I'm
to
coming up
Elon.
on a month now. Can you believe that? Month being off this. So yeah, why not have a T-shirt? And I used the design that wouldn't infringe copyright. So you know,
It's perfect.
It's not the Twitter actual Twitter bird, but
it's not the actual Twitter blue or the Twitter bird.
Yeah.
So, you know,
No, seriously, let's send one to Elon.
we probably can, can't we? I wonder. Yeah,
I bet we
probably
could.
I probably should just ship one to him. That's not a bad idea. He's gonna be like, "What's this? What's this rubbish?
Free Kevin.
Who's Kevin?"
Kevin.
Just unblock anybody named Kevin. It's great.
Exactly.
Comes in two
Yeah.
colors. You can get the solid white. You can show them the colors, Kevin. You can get the solid white.
It does. Yeah, it comes in the solid one as well. You get
There you
the
go.
nice models down here, modeling these.
Got some models.
These. I'll
Nice.
include this. None of the there are no profits on this. This is pretty much at cost. I think it's got a tiny markup on it. I think, but the default one. This is not. We're not making money on this.
We actually sold two that weren't us, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, we did. So you know who you are. Thank you. I think it was
Thank
Dana and BK both bought
BK,
one. So thank you. I sent them a personal thank you just to say like, hey, you guys rock. Like that was great.
Nice.
Okay, Paul, what you got?
So, you know how you have sneakers and they just always get dirty and you just don't want to wash them, or you go outside and you know what the weather's going to be like, and sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. And so you have to constantly manage like what kind of shoes you wear. And that's not something I want to have big part of. And so typically I used to wear only, like very particular shoes like Uggs. I don't know why, just because they're comfortable, but I started wearing Crocs again. And so I'm just going to say my Crocs are awesome, even though they're pink. You don't have to get them in pink. But regardless of what the weather is, hot, cold, I just go outside. Like I never have to worry about, I could wash my feet by spraying them down with the hose. It's
Paul,
so amazing.
The Barbie
Crocs.
collection. Come
Look at
on.
that.
This is right for you.
You know, to be honest, that's slightly past the level that I'm willing to go, which is weird. You would think I don't have standards, but I do.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, look how awesome they look like right there. Yeah. Crocs, like I just wear them all the time. And now that I live in Texas, we don't really have any like serious winters. I think I'm going to wear them through like all the time. Although my mom called me because she saw pictures of me wearing my Crocs every day. And she's like, you're going to a family gathering. And she literally called me to ask if I have real shoes.
You have to get the black ones out. You got to get the fancy ones. Get the black
Do
ones
not
out.
show up with those Crocs, Paul.
So I told her I will have shoes when I land. I have to
That's
buy
amazing.
a pair of shoes.
I gotta say, I'm a fan too. I've had multiple
They're
pairs of
awesome.
these in the
They're
past.
Never
I actually
owned Crocs.
donated a bunch a while ago, and I wish I would have kept them. I had a bunch of I bought literally 3 pairs of white ones because I wore them all the time. I just kept wearing them I wore them all the time. I'm a fan.
They're so comfortable,
you.
so convenient.
They are. There you go, Paul. This is. Oh, it's only in toddler sizes. Shame.
Oh, nice.
You know what?
flag.
No,
Nice.
I would wear those, and I think I would get kicked out of my jujitsu class. That would be the limit. They're like, you know what? Pink was already bad enough, but to have those unicorn-looking things, like, you know,
I love it.
Oh, that's funny.
I love it. Okay, so mine for this week is I'm gonna keep it simple. My not null as always, or my null as always, is Twitter. Please buy the t-shirt. But my not null, I'm gonna keep it simple. It's Threads. I think it's great. I'm all in. Being that I'm a refugee from from Twitter, not by choice. That Threads is where it's at for me right now. So yeah. Follow us all on Threads.
Oh, it's the website's out? I didn't know that.
So no, the website
You
isn't
can't
out.
interact.
So, yeah, you can't interact with it. You can go to the website. You can do threads.net/@ your username, and you can see it.
Okay.
And you can read it, your own profile, but you can't interact with the timeline. You can't do anything with it. You can't like anything. You can just, it's very generic.
Okay.
So yeah, go follow us all on Threads. We can, we can be friends or at least mutual follows.
Yeah.
Want to go there and follow us. You know Paul's already.
Hot
Hot
turtle.
turtle.
Hot
Go
turtle.
follow Hot turtle.
Sarah, you're at Family Tech, right?
Everywhere.
And then Bobby, you're Bobby _Davis
Jr. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm Kevin Doyle. So yeah, go hook up with us on there, and we can you can see my Mid-Journey creations look. Which, come on, AI is so
That looked cool.
isn't it?
I like that a lot. That was
Isn't AI
awesome.
so cool? This literally took me less than 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I want to like make a quick thing and like make it look cool. And I was like, oh, 5 minutes work. Like,
Gorgeous.
it's so cool. It's amazing.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
It's amazing. And then my very first MacBook. Well, my first picture of a MacBook. Not my first.
The thing's ancient.
Yeah, it's cool. It is ancient. There's some.
Hey,
yeah.
I've got a
Threads is
BlackBerry
great.
Pearl in this drawer over here. So
I have a Windows phone in one of the things back here with the little keyboards on it.
Nice.
I need to get
loved
them out.
my
And
Windows phone.
and actually, this right on this picture right here, this phone right here, this Motorola Razr that's in this picture, I still
Oh,
have
that's
it.
the
It's back here.
greatest.
That was the greatest phone ever.
The Raiders,
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
Wasn't
the
it?
greatest phone
Such
ever
a good
made.
phone. Even today, I'll dig it out next week because like it's so nice looking. It's a cool looking device.
Yeah, man.
Okay, well, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for any messages that anybody has sent. If you do want to send us a message, email address is in the description. It's notnullpodcast@gmail.com. Please leave us a review anywhere that you can. That would also be much, much appreciated. We would love that. If we've done something wrong or upset you, I apologize. Especially last week when I had to put out an apology because we upset probably a bunch of people talking about some things. I had to tweet about it.
Did we upset people?
Flat Earthers,
No, I don't
they
think
do.
so.
The one
Flat
if
Earth.
anybody was
Came out
going
of
to be,
No.
He's like,
No.
no,
Don't talk about it because no, don't say yeah.
if anybody was going to be upset, it's that car company that created that fake, stupid, whatever it is.
There's two groups we offended last week: flat earthers and then government IT managers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
between
true.
those two groups,
True.
I'm surprised they haven't come after us.
I'm
So
okay
that-
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Exactly,
government
I'd
IT
say,
manager is
but,
dumb, is what we said. So sorry about
Basically.
that.
We did say that.
Hey,
I was listening to
It
I
is.
was like,
It is what it
We
is.
did.
It is what it is.
Sorry,
You know.
dude.
Truth hurts.
Okay. We'll catch everybody next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
All right, take
Bye.
care.